All right, right in here we have some rough data for the blue spring on the spring lab. Right here we have the X position of the spring itself. It started out at 0.79 meters, and I'm guessing this was measured from the floor. And as we added force, the spring stretched closer to the floor. Now here's the thing, we want to use delta X. And one great thing about Excel is it will do equations for anything that begins with an equal sign. So one, you can start with delta X on your data set, but now we need to turn this into delta X. And it starts at 0.79 and gets lower each time. So if I start with equals 0.79 and then subtract. Now this is cool. If I hit A2, it will subtract whatever value is in A2. In this case, that's 0. Now typing that equation in a bunch of times could be time consuming, but if I grab this bottom corner and I pull the equation down, it copies that equation. And so you can see each time I look at this, I've got the same equation. This is 0.79 minus A5 and continues on. Now, what can we do with this? If I highlight delta X and F, this will do this automatically because it takes the first column and lists it as the x-axis. I'm going to go to charts and I'm going to insert a marked scatter graph, and it puts this in right away. Under purple here, chart layout, I can add a chart title above the chart, and in this one I will do spring chart or spring graph, might be better. But this is, I can either do spring graph dash blue for the blue spring, or spring graph or blue spring graph, something of that nature. Axis titles, under the horizontal axis, I should have delta X in meters. My system is having trouble remembering all this. Delta X in meters, and my vertical axis will be force in newtons. I could write out the whole word too. Now, a couple of things. If you find you're on the wrong axes, let's say 0 to 10 we're on the y-axis. 1, click one of your data points and you'll see what data is being used here. This is kind of fun. You can actually move what's being graphed around, or if you double click, I can go to select data. And right here it will show you on the X values are this sheet B2 to B10, B2 to B10. The X values are delta X, and the Y values are C2 to C10. If I wanted to change them, I can delete that hitting this button here. Whatever I highlight will then be placed in this box when I click this again or hit return. Now I have that as an X value, and I could do Y value. So you can start with an initial graph that's blank and pull data from different sections to be on your X or Y axes. I could also add another line on the graph, series 2, and I could pick other data from somewhere else on a larger graph. I could actually put all of the lines on this one graph, all 4 of them. But we're just going to have one for now. Now, I can also highlight this, 2-finger click, and add a trend line. This should be linear. And under options, we're going to do display equation on a chart and display R squared value and hit OK. Now, this is of the form y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope. So according to this graph, 35.47 is the spring constant. Now, there's something based on the results of our graph, and if we look at this, the initial data points are all below, and the final data points are below, and these are above. Some curiosity I've found that these first couple of data points, basically the spring isn't moving very much, and they're not working particularly well. We can actually erase those points. And we'll erase it until our data is lined up very well along this. And actually I'm going to do one more, but in some of the lighter springs it actually goes. And you'll see your R squared value gets much, much better. And in that case, you're seeing that all of these points are aligned with a spring constant of 31.268. You can go back, use all of the data, and 35.47 is what all of your values show us. But when we talk about the lab in detail, if we were to do that, you might want to try to, or think about, what's going on when we have very little mass attached to the spring? Why is it behaving differently at that point? But what we've done so far should help you. Remember, chart layout gives you all of the information you need to lay your chart out. Double clicking on your data, or clicking on your data and then double clicking, you can change where your data is coming from. You can add data labels if you want. You can add a trend line. And under trend line, remember, we want to display the equation on the line and display the R squared value. And don't forget, you can use equations over here. Thank you very much. I certainly hope this helps.